Fans, welcome back once again. It's time for the MCV8s to get underway. We're back again this evening for the silver split here of round one from Phillip Island circuit. Welcome back, of course, to Simple Racing Broadcasts. I am your host for this evening, Jared Cole, to be joined a little later on in this broadcast by my co-commentator, Dean Biggles-Hopton. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you back to the channel as we get set for another exciting round of racing. Now, make no mistake, being silver split does not mean that these drivers are all that far off from the gold split we brought to you on Monday night. In fact, the entire field across this season split by only a few seconds, it feels like. Very, very close racing in the gold split on Monday night, and a pleasure to be back again once more to bring you the silver split this evening. Conditions tonight certainly much better than the gold split faced. We were up against, 40-45 kilometre an hour winds on Monday night and a track temp of something like 38 degrees. The silver split having a much better time of it. 19 degree air temp, a beautiful 25 degree track temp. The tyres are going to thank them for that this evening, but a little bit more moisture around and a few clouds. We'll see if that pans out into any weather concerns. I'm joined, of course, now by my co-commentator, Dean Biggles-Hopton. Biggles, how are you this evening, my friend?
Good, thank you. So it's like a famous song, isn't it? You always take the weather with you.
Everywhere you go.
In the silver split, my friend. Yeah, a little bit different than the gold split, but absolutely fantastic, and a pleasure to be alongside with you again here.
Always great to have you, mate. And look, other than the weather, realistically, the format for tonight, very much the same. 17 laps here in race 1, then race 2, 34 laps with that reverse top 10 grid, and we will have to wait and see how it all goes. This is, of course, round 1, so it will set the tone for the championship ahead. And I don't know about you, Biggles, but after Monday night, mate, anything could happen tonight, couldn't it?
Mate, I'm glad we'd have to do them back-to-back, isn't it? Because it was an exciting race for the gold. Interesting to see how these silver gladiators can manage the overtakes, because that was the tricky one, wasn't it?
Absolutely it was. Phillip Island only presenting a couple of opportunities, but even so, plenty of drivers getting caught up, and some surprising results in the gold split on Monday. So, look, I don't know about you, but I'm prepped for anything tonight. My body is ready, my brain is ready. That's about all I've got. Qualifying underway right now. Let's go down and take a look, see what's happening on track as we take a look. Let's start off with Chris Pellet from Frog Leap Juice Racing, as he is out on track right now, putting in these laps. Of course, open qualifying does mean that what we're getting is a very good picture of how these drivers are actually going to handle the track with traffic around. It's a little different to usual solo qualifying, but yeah, look, some good times being posted already as we just wait for the update, of course, from our race controllers on that. But the times so far all very, very closely packed as everyone starts to set their first laps out there. Ryan Palmer from ADHD Racing on a flyer right now in that ghastly bloody livery, and good to have you in the chat, Ryan. Always a pleasure to have you along, mate.
Ghastly bloody
Look,
livery,
and we know it's not the livery itself, it's the abomination of having that car with that livery, but it's what we've come to expect from ADHD, and I'd expect no less. Michael Brennan out in front and setting a really quick lap right now. Luke Speck not far behind him with a purple sector as well, so let's keep an eye on this, see if he can improve that first qualifying time. Only about another 10 minutes to go here, Biggles, and plenty going on. G'day, Aiden. Good to have you here. And look, it's an okay livery. It's an okay livery. I'll give it to you.
DJ was the first to out there in the chat, and get yourself a nice little "You're the First" award. Stacked grid again for the silver, mate. Yep. I thought it was stacked enough for the gold. Lucky they actually had to split it up there, because there's no way we're gonna fit a total of 50, at least 50 cars. If you were joining both the silver and gold together, that would be a bit chaotic for most drivers.
What did we have the other night? Was it
28 tonight? Well, 27 actually with the pace car, safety car would be the 28th.
No, we've got a full 28 here tonight. The iRacing pace car not showing up on our timing tower, which is nice to see. Look, we are going to keep an eye on this qualifying as it's going on, as we take a look at Rory Collins doing his best to set a quick lap here. I was just thinking, we had, was it 32 in gold the other night? God, it sounds like so long ago.
Yes, it's a CPU murderer when it comes to iRacing. Have that much with all the beautification turned up, of course, for the broadcast that you do. The pictures look amazing too. I love that. Just it's better than TV, mate. A lot better.
Isn't it just? Scott Bartine joining us in the chat as well. Good to have you along, mate. Always a pleasure. And Scott of no surname, looking better on a Chev anyway. Look, you know what? Can't argue. It actually does look fantastic on the thing, but don't let Ryan know that I said that. Luke Speck on his outlap right now and looking to improve his time with the 11 or 12 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Stop car on the track at the corner.
8 or 9 left. Yeah, it's an outlap. He's not going to be too upset. I'm a little curious to see what it'd be like, honestly, combining the two splits, because we'd have between them, we'd probably have right on the maximum number of cars that iRacing can handle. I reckon we'd have 64. There you go. The boss man himself, Mitch Curry, in the chat. 32 is correct, so there you go. Between the two, we'd have 60 cars on track. Now, that's technically possible. Technically possible for iRacing to handle. How do you reckon that'd go, Biggles?
I've done one or two. I'll talk about oval racing as well, too, of about 50 something, and yeah, you start getting a little bit of an issues with server connections and stuff like that. Not just causes the broadcaster, but the drivers as well too. So it pushes his limits. I think the sweet spot is around here, around 32. Really,
it's a pretty good number.
Sometimes the 40s to bet in the ovals and stuff like that, but it depends on the tracks too. You don't want short track, as this is around Phillip Island's relatively short track. So yeah, I don't know, mate. It's
in the scheme of things, it's not too bad.
There's a sweet spot in certain things, and I think they've hit the right thing here at the MC Motorsport. I think it can divide it up with a good amount of gladiators.
Absolutely agree. Luke Speck off on his flying lap. Sleepy Anarchy in the chat. I'd be lapped by lap 3 if we combined them. Honestly, mate, I think if we had 64 cars, you'd actually probably be almost lapped just by virtue of how far back the grid would have to go to fit them all on. I reckon you'd be visible from the main straight first to probably have a view of the end of the pack anyway. So who knows, right? Who knows?
We'll see you out there, Terry.
Oh, look, I don't know.
I used to race back in the day, aka last year.
Yeah, look, I've got to say, I'm really enjoying the Gen 3s. I haven't done much racing alongside these guys, of course, but been getting into a few of the officials and, yeah, really enjoying the challenge of the Gen 3 supercars. They are much easier to save when they snap sideways compared to the Gen 2s. They've really gotten the tyre model working beautifully. And, yeah, it's playing out nicely so far in all the racing we've brought to you over the first few weeks of these Gen 3 seasons being covered here on Simple Racing Broadcasts and by Simple Racing Broadcasts elsewhere. So plenty to see. We've got a lot of people in the chat. Great to have you all along, folks. And just about 5-6 minutes left in this qualifying session. So far, not many people able to challenge Michael Brennan's 133.298 with Scott Stevens really, really close. Just 0.008 of a second behind, so barely split at all for the front row of the grid here tonight, Biggles.
Absolutely. It's when you're seeing like the top 10 separated by 12 now, separated by a second, it is absolutely fantastic. Here's one to see if who's been paying attention. A little bit of trivia. What was the quickest time during qualifying set for the gold split on Monday? So there you go. Look at that chat.
That is a question.
Probably the boss man out there is going to be right on top of that one, Mitch Curry. But hey, anybody else? I know that DJ, you were first out of the chat. That's going to be first to tell us what the qualifying time was for gold split.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty close because the temps on track on Monday night were pretty horrific, honestly, compared to tonight. The tyres will be feeling much better this evening than they did for Monday night's race, and certainly a lot less wind, although as you might recall from some of our interviews with the drivers after the race, the breeze was actually 40k an hour breeze was actually blowing from behind down that main straight, so really giving them some amazing top speed. 32.6.
I don't know where you live. There we go. For a 40-something kilometre an hour breeze.
Oh, look,
that's almost like optic winds.
It's a stiff breeze, absolutely. But look, Phillip Island, I feel like that's just day to day down there, isn't it? As we see Ryan Palmer at 133, 467.
Not to mention if you run a little bit too wide, you're into the drink, mate. So
it's one you got to watch.
Also, remember back in 2022, they renamed the Honda corner to the Miller corner, and that's that little kink in turn 4 that we saw caused a little bit of dilemma, didn't it? As well as overtaking opportunities from the gold split.
It absolutely did, and look, I did get called out on that. Bit of chat back and forth with our co-commentator Josh Harris after the event. He did say, "What are you doing? It's not Miller corner, it's Honda corner." I am gonna say on the record, it's Honda corner when Honda want to sponsor the broadcast. At that point, I'll be glad to call it that. So. If Honda's out there listening, as I'm sure they are, to the Simple Racing Broadcast's coverage this evening, there's an opportunity for you. Check out
What are you going to do with your
Stevens.
Tesla that's parked in the driveway at the moment, mate? Are you going to just trade that in for a Honda then?
Cooper, my friend, much nicer.
Is that a Honda
Tesla.
in the back of your car?
Have a look at the livery on Scott Stevens' Camaro. He didn't disappoint in the GT3s, and again the Jinx Shifter livery looking absolutely stunning as he chases down that pole position. He's not had a great run in Sector 1. Let's see what Sector 2 brings here. Oh, again, off his pace, so probably not going to get it this time around. Darren Loftonen's on a flyer, looking to best his time as well. He's running out of time here, 3 minutes to go, so these guys are probably only going to get another lap in or thereabouts. Darren Lofton currently sitting in 25th with his time, so a fair bit off the pace, but an opportunity here to perhaps move up the grid a little further. We've got confirmation 32.658 by Ben Faulkner on Monday night, so you can see the difference. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate for Darren, and mate, I've done that so many times coming out of Lukey Heights. It's such a tough corner to get right. It really is.
Yeah, it does. It's okay, mate, to do that during your qualifying session, of course, or your warm-ups. You just don't want to be doing that to the race too much. And, we can see if it all goes pear-shaped at the moment. Early in the race, you're going to be sitting there and just a passenger watching everybody scoot on by. Thank you very much for the chat. Straight on top of it, I told you, Jared. Intake line. 33.299 is the time currently, as you can see, to beat. And Scott Stevens would be in a hole, somebody sitting in the kitty litter waiting for them to go by.
Whoa, that's not the entry
the
that
Robyard
would have liked. Anyhow, good thing they've got a bit of time before the race to just buff that one out. Just a little confusion over the pit entry, I think, and Jake Robyard coming back in. Martin Lipsky going out on a lap now, so we'll see how he goes.
There's
Greg Patrick just about to cross the line.
There's two different types of pit lane entrances. There's one that has a bit of a sharp right-hand kink into it, and then there's the stooping on slow. Well, just
yeah, look, there's a couple of differences, but not at that point of the entry. It's all the same entry there,
okay.
So
yeah, exactly.
You got to wonder. Tell you what, the Camaros, you can't argue with the yellow livery on them, can you? It's very Transformers. Good-looking car.
Out of the Transformers, doesn't it? Bumblebee.
It does, absolutely.
It'll start transforming into a Transformer. Scott Stevens, it's to be lovely him about Holden back in the day, isn't it? Because he would be in a Holden SS, Holden Commodore SS. Scotty Stevens is the double S. There you go. Let's put them together.
Ryan Palmer up into third. A 133.47 on that last one, so he's jumped up the field a little further.
Now, let's see if we have the teams over here in the Silver Split. We've got Danger Spoons Motorsports, we've got Alpine Pro Racing, we've got Twisted Key Racing, we've got the 80 HD, we've got Frog Leap Juiced Racing, and 9 Intensive Sim Sport, currently sitting in a provisional pole there by Michael Brennan. So good to see, and of course we haven't had a chance, and we'll hopefully may get a chance to go over all these fantastic liveries for the first time this season in the MCV8 Series, mate.
The full Send Motorsports livery unveiled on the Discord not that long ago. And yeah, it's looking very bright indeed. Can't miss it in amongst the rest. The purple and white looking rather resplendent.
What's the secrets that you got on there? It's got sim...
Speed secrets. I could use some of those.
Speed secrets, yeah.
Greg Patrick, send them up this way,
please.
Please
Share
I
us
need
if you're
all the help.
tuning out there, Mr. Patrick, what your secrets are. He's like, all right, well, you just watch the end of Heat 1, and then the secret is he wins the race, maybe.
Yeah, that could be it. Could be it. Qualifying ends there as we wait for the grid for race 1. Here we go. Michael Brennan and Scott Stevens on the front row. Ryan Palmer and Chris Pellat right behind them. Aaron James and Luke Speck in row 3 ahead of Seth Stevens and Jake Robyard. Angus Brown and Hayden Cupid rounding out the 10. Martin Hallinan with Reese Dickerson in 11th and 12th just outside that all-important top 10. As we move further down, Josh Marsh and Adrian Gresh alongside each other in row 7 with Greg Patrick and Ronald Long just behind. Matt Bakir and Rory Collins, then Chris Philippou and Jamie Taylor round out the 20 with Daniel Harrod alongside Martin Lipsky, then Carmelo Coloridi alongside Darren Lofton. And just rounding out the last few spots there, Jesse Sterlo and Pat Trappett ahead of Jared Williams and Dane Liciato. So look, a pretty close field all in all. Really only the 4 seconds front to back of that field, and most of them within 2 seconds of the pole position. It should be a very, very quick race indeed by the look of that.
We certainly are going to find out. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Everybody's got to load on to the grid there and see how they handle the Alduin corner, which is turn 1. It's a nice little sharp sweeping, let's say, motorbike-esque, as this track is very motorbike-esque, hence the name, call it Doing Corner. And it's good to see Mick, of course, having his son in Formula One this year. He'll be racing for the Alpine team. So more Aussies on the grid of Formula One, and of course a stacked grid of Australians here, 28 for the silver.
Here we go. We are about to go underway, ready to go racing. A little bit of a shift there by Scott Stevens. He's keen to get underway, and we are off. The flag has dropped, and look at that start from Ryan Palmer, straight out in front. A fantastic pull away from the line. I don't know how he's managed to get the power to the ground there, honestly, but look at that lead as they come down into turn one. That livery's doing something special for him.
And Scotty bogged down big time on that one, so unfortunately for Scott Stevens, he's dropped all the way down to P4. Seems like a lot, but when you line up in the front row of the grid, as Ryan Palmer managed to nail it. Unfortunately, Scotty didn't, but he's got a little bit of time. 3 wide in the back a little bit here too, Jared. We did see that in the gold split, and 3 into 1, unfortunately, sometimes doesn't work. Let's see how these gladiators can handle it.
As we come down to Miller Corner, that's Miller Corner, just for the record. And these guys starting to just get aligned, but we've got 3 wide coming through here. They're going to have to space themselves out. A little bit of rubbing of panels there, but not too bad in the end. Everyone making it through in one piece, and of course through Siberia, where we'll be feeling those light breezes at Phillip Island. 40k now we've got, that's Josh Marsh, no, Luke Speck. Luke Speck is off. So he's going to have to make his way back on as he drops right back through the field. We're watching Aaron James now, sitting in 5th position just ahead of Jake Rodyard. Ryan Palmer and Chris Pellett out in front, making their way over Lukey Heights for the very first time here in this 17-lap first race of the evening. And so far, so good. Oh, big touch there. Contact. That's Angus Brown. Angus Brown has gone around just on the other side of Lukey Heights, and he's going to have to wait till the very back of the pack to get running again. Not the start he would have been hoping for.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about there, Jared. What happens when you become a little bit of door banging and then somebody goes around and you're a passenger just sit there and patiently, frustratingly wait for everybody to scoot on by. You saw the Michael Jordan-esque livery there. Well, he's trying to pick up some sponsorship and get Michael from NASCAR. Come on, MJ.
Why not? Why not? As we see Adrian Gresh looking for an opportunity to get through this pack just ahead of him. This is the battle for 9th at the moment, with Patrick out in front in the Full Motorsports entry.
At the moment, and we're only on lap 2, mate. You see those tyres start to fall off the cliff, and the drivers out there who are joining us, you are aware of that. Oh, there's contact.
Big
back
touch
there. You can see
there.
the bumblebee. There's the livery into the.
That's Martin Hallinan.
Into the
and
litter.
Daniel Harrods around.
Ronald Long.
Ronald Long is around in that corner, so he's going to have to get up and running again. I tell you what, these colder track conditions are certainly taking time for the tyres to warm up. So not what we saw in the gold split. Those tyres were warm by the time we made it to turn 1, honestly.
Yeah, mate.
So it's making a big difference.
Isn't it? You've got to get your little fold up chair.
It really is.
Grab yourself a cold one and sit back and relax and watch it. That's the tickets. If you're going to get your scalping tickets right now to the track, that's where you have to get them. As at the Twisted Key Racing, number 28, he goes round 2, and that's Martin, unfortunately. So
Luke Speck making the move there on Coloredi, makes it on through. And he held it around the outside though. That's a notoriously difficult corner to get the power down as you come out of Lukey Heights there, but he's made it stick. So on we go. A few moves and shakes. Scott Stevens into the pits early, so perhaps just a little bit of damage to have repaired there or something similar. Hopefully not in there for too long. Now I will note there's a little bit of a name change here this evening. Ryan Palmer out in front. I'm not going to say too much, but if we do catch the windscreen at some point, just take a look at the nameplate there. We might have a chat about that at some stage. Biggles, I don't know about you, but so far I'm pretty impressed with just the cleanliness of the racing in both gold and silver split. These Gen 3s, you've really got to throw everything at it to make any kind of move stick. But these guys are really being respectful about it. They're pushing hard, but they're not causing too much of an issue in terms of contact.
Jared's trying to throw a contest case in that because they're going to be some door and some door banging. And well, you'll have to get a little argy-bargy out there in order to get the overtakes done, because it's not the easiest track, as we've mentioned, and those drivers that had gone through it in the gold class and these silver gladiators at the moment are going to have probably got that memo if they've actually watched that race back and they said, oh, well, Hard to imagine. Of course, this all occurred at the same time anyway, so they don't have that luxury of, unless, of course, they have a couple of monitors and watch one race going while they're racing, but I do not suggest that.
Could be. It's everywhere. Not surprising out of Lukey Heights, honestly. Scott Stevens in the chat just confirming that that pit, and sure enough, if I'd kept my eyes on how he's progressing through there, that is the drive-through for that very small jump start.
Oh, that's what it was. Thanks for that. See, we don't get that luxury, do we, when the drivers are actually driving to let us know what happened, so thank you for that. Other drivers, please let us know if there's anything that happened to you. Of course, no spoiler alerts, but situations like that, if you had a pit load and weren't quite sure why, well, it made perfect sense, because we know Scotty's start wasn't the best, because he was a little too quick out of the gate on that one, Scotty.
Just a touch. Lipsky here on the inside of Phillip. Getting a little loose, but he's barged on through. Now, can he hold it? Getting just a little bit of oversteer on the exit, trying to get that power down. He's going to have to do a lot of work. And that southern loop, really a difficult corner to overtake through. So well done, as Lipsky makes up another position there. Out in front, we've got Pellat and Brennan going at it. We'll have a look here. The two frog leap juice racing, rather. What a mouthful. Entries here.
Blame it on the juice. Blame it on the juice.
Now, interestingly,
between these two guys, I like it. I like how the liveries are similar, of course, but different colours. It makes it easier for us up in the commentary box to spot the difference between them. And,
very much
not
does.
too much of a difference between them on track, Jared, I had at the moment.
Yeah, Michael Brennan showing up 9.5 Sim Sport, though, in our telemetry. A reminder to the drivers, of course, that it's probably worth considering getting onto the SDK driver app. You'll find the link in the Discord. Make sure you do update your team details, because we've got a lot of people here tonight without team names listed against them. So that's a shame.
Team None's very popular.
It is. Good to see some privateers running. As we make our way around lap 5 now.
Patrick's
in. That's Greg Patrick
Greg
into the pits.
So.
I wonder if he's copped a little bit of damage in his excursion.
Yeah, let us know,
there.
Greg. Of course, you can give us a little bit of an update from the pit road in the chat.
No, I can confirm that was a black flag drive-through for Greg Patrick. That'll be in and out of that pit.
Contact earlier?
It would be. Have a look at this. Dan Licciardo just sandwiching Reece Dickerson with the teammate Rory Collins just ahead. The Sideways Esports guys just hassling him both sides of the car at this point. Very brave dive there under brakes. I think he's just showing that's Rory Collins off into the grass. And it happens over and over again at Miller Corner. It's such a tough one to pull these things up.
We're going to go side by side, absolutely.
Through Siberia, really guys.
I like to see this racing. Who's going to yield first there, mate?
I don't think anyone's yielding at this point. There's gravel all over the track that's going to cause some difficulties here at high speed through these corners. But Licciardo makes it stick.
He is flying.
He
he started 18 places down. He was almost at the very back of the field there. And Licciardo
now
is
up
just
into 10th. Huge drive.
Annihilating everybody. Not the fastest man on the circuit. That's Michael Brennan in P2. And he's starting to catch Ryan Palmer too for the lead of this race as we dig our way about halfway through the first heat.
Well, it's really interesting tonight. Usually we see a lot of close battles in that top 10. The top 10 actually fairly spread out this evening, but the battle back in about 15th, 16th is kicking on. As we take a look here, you've got Scott Stevens trying to make his way back up through the field here at 16th, so down 14 from his starting spot after that penalty. But just ahead, Luke Speck and Chris Philippou. Just behind, you've got Daniel Harrod trying to hold off Martin Hallinan and Carmelo Coloridi. It is all going on. A drive-through penalty being issued to car number 114. That's Reece Dickerson for some contact.
Looks like we'd love to drive there for a little bit.
Scott Stevens, he's back. He's good. The connection's working okay. So we keep our eyes on this.
Has to be Ford versus Chevy, but I'm worried the Fords will blow up.
Always on the case of the Fords. As we see Hallinan now making the move. Can he hold this? Again, we're going side by side through Siberia. This seems to be the popular choice, so it's interesting to see the change in tactics with the different tyre temps that these guys are. Oh, that's going to be tight there. Philippou did well to get out of the way. The colder temps on track are obviously enabling these guys to try a few different moves than what we saw in the gold splits. It's just got that little bit of extra grip that's allowing them to try out a few more passing locations. However, the kitty litter just as prevalent everywhere across this track.
The kitty little stuff. So good racing between these two. You're seeing live on your pictures at the moment, as it looks like it's just so you can see different racing lines that they're taking in there. Got to avoid the kitty litter a little bit. The rear end starting to get a little loosey goosey, as we say as well. And that is the current situation. Ryan still got that little bit of a lead there on Michael. They get down. Michael's at best has got about half a tenth. Let's see if there's going to be an opportunity in to Doing corner. And then, of course, all the way down to the southern loop between these two.
The pace on these cars as they come through turn one. He's run wide. Hallinan finds himself off in the grass, just pushing a bit too hard, but catching it up very, very quickly as he makes his way back through southern loop. Now passing Coloridi.
Taylor there for the throwback Dick livery there, wasn't it?
Carmelo Coloridi running that one tonight. So looking very nice indeed. Yeah, a bit of DJR. Some really, really good looking liveries coming out for these cars, and a lot of them from MC Motorsport's very own Isaac Edwards Index Designs, basically recreating the entire Supercars field in a matter of days after release. Huge effort on his part. Let's go up the front again though. Ryan Palmer under massive pressure. Michael Brennan has caught him up and is now riding that rear bumper of the Vortex Camaro. Sounds dirty even when I say it, doesn't it? But here we come down the main straight. Look at all that kitty litter he's kicking up. It's a good thing iRacing doesn't simulate chips in the windscreen at any sort of real pace.
Don't tell him. Here we go into Doing corner. Down the Gardner straight. Challenge for the lead of this race at the moment. Michael's been the quickest man on the track. Ryan's been leading every lap so far after a great launch. And coming down to the dying stages of this race, what can he do? Up on the inside goes Michael. Puts his nose in at the moment. Is he juiced up? Certainly is, side by side.
What a place to end up side by side as well. This is going to be interesting because Palmer's going to have the inside line for Miller. He's going to have to play defensively here. But look at the squirm under brakes. He's doing everything he can to pull that car up. It's going to be enough for now, but Brennan showing, big moment as he tries to put the power down. And that's going to give Palmer just enough breathing room to think about maybe surviving another lap out in P1.
It's interesting as well, too. And drivers, please let us know, as that you were in the cockpits, you're in the situation. How was it like in the dirty air out there? Because it does seem to be tough in these Gen 3s when they're getting to that dirty air. And catching one thing, but overtaking is another. And I'm just curious to know what your thoughts were. And they're the ones that did it behind the wheel, mate.
Absolutely. The battle's going on further back. Hayden Cupid doing a bit of a number on Aaron James at the moment, just trying to reel him in and get past that Jordan livery standing out and giving Cupid a huge target to aim at. So these guys are making their way around, and just behind we've got Seth Stevens and Jake Robiard as well. So Robiard we saw earlier, just a bit of a moment in qualifying, but they seem to have repaired that car nicely, and he's hanging in there in P6. Stevens, though, looking for the run down the straight and not quite finding the slipstream that he perhaps would have wanted there. There's not a lot of error on these cars, and so there's not a huge amount of benefit from the slipstream, which makes the racing so much closer when you can't just line it up down the straight. That said, Martin Hallinan on the back of Chris Phillip. Here he comes. This is for P16. He's on the inside coming into turn one. Too much pace. He's going to push Phillip wide. Now, how's this going to look into Southern Loop as Phillip takes the inside of this corner and reclaims a bit of a touch there. Yeah. No damage done.
That's how you get it done, mate. You get a little bit of dual banging every once in a while, but it's fair play. They allow themselves enough space for some good side-by-side racing.
In the meantime, look at this side-by-side up front. Brennan's made his move, gotten past Palmer. Can Palmer respond here?
Well, we got word out there that Dirty Air, isn't it? Said that was tough. Stone Corner not so much. So a little bit mixed opinions on there, but I don't think it's going to be that drastic into play. But tell you, once you get the overtaking done, it's a little bit hard to keep up. Look who's coming to play now. That battle for P1 and P2 has brought in Chris for the 186 machine for the Frog Leap Juice. So we've got two juices at the moment. Ryan is going to get squeezed like he's at a juicer.
A little bit of space between them at the moment, but I have no doubt that's about to just close up as these guys battle both sides of Ryan Palmer. And we get down into turn one. Ryan Palmer doing everything he can to stay on the back of Brennan. and trying not to bring Pellat with him, but I don't know he's going to have much choice here as we make our way to the southern loop once again. These cars just really squirming on the tyres tonight. We're only 10 laps in, so they should have a little bit more up their sleeve, but perhaps just pushing these other lines has worn them out a little more than they were perhaps anticipating, because the grip just isn't there.
2 seconds and change down the road there from this battle you're watching on your pitches. Last of the late breakers. That may turn him. I think it has.
Saves it beautifully.
I tell you what, sportsmanship, isn't it, from Chris? He's actually said, my bad, lift it off a little bit, and look who is bringing everybody else back into play here now. So good sportsmanship, but also you could be looking at dropping a couple of places by doing the right thing. And Chris and Ryan Palmer will fight back that way back through here. I don't think this is going to be the end of it yet, Jared.
Oh, I've got to wonder, I think, looking at that, a little bit of a wiggle under power there from Pellat, but I think that was actually a second redress to make sure that Palmer definitely regained that position. So bravo, Chris Pellat. It's what we like to see. Hopefully it hasn't cost you too much and you can get back into what is a fantastic battle here for P2. Let's take a look at
sportsmanship, don't you, mate?
Oh, yeah,
it really does.
absolutely.
Because, you know, it's inevitable that wasn't a clear pass. He's realised it and lifted off a little bit so that they can resume that one. But once again, it's bringing some excitement because it's bringing the like of Aaron James and Hayden into play too. So now we have a five-way fight to lead this race.
All of a sudden, Aaron James, who was just watching the mirrors trying to keep Cupid at bay, he's now got a bit of a view ahead of Pellat and thinking, maybe there's a podium in this for me if I play my cards right. 7 laps to go. We've got Darren Lofton in the pits. So looks like he's towing after coming off the track there. A little bit of a...
I can't think of it. It's only a 4-way fight now for P2 because...
really is.
Michael's gone, mate. 3.8 down the road.
The road.
We know
yeah.
He's setting all the fastest laps, and now he's got clean air. He's gone, mate. He's heading his way up into... I was going to say all the way up to Queensland at the moment, mate, being down here.
It just demonstrates, though, doesn't it, how difficult it is to pass in these cars, because when Palmer was in front of Brennan, they were going at it but matched very evenly on pace. Now, unless Palmer's lifted off here and has decided to just take it easy on the tyres a bit, it just shows how much extra pace you can find if you do have a bit of clear air and you're not actually trying to pass someone. It makes you wonder, right, does Pellat actually have a lot more up the sleeve but just hasn't found a way past Palmer? Really emphasises the importance of knowing how to drive defensively in these cars.
That's just as impressive, I always say, than overtaking is the defensive driving. It's unfortunate we do see it in real life motorsports. How you never see that in highlight reels.
No,
you only see the overtakes and highlight reels. You don't see the massive defense. And we know, obviously, from our own Australian Oscar, he had to do that for 34 laps this season in Formula 1. And that was spectacular. It's just defensive driver against sometimes clearly a quicker driver behind you. That's just
Speaking of quicker drivers, does look like the second redress perhaps not planned by Chris Pellat, we're told in the chat. So unfortunate for him that he didn't get away with that. But look, it looked incredibly sporting on the coverage, Chris. So good to see as Cupid gets very loose there, trying to stick onto the back of James. Maybe James just got a bit more in his tyres. Take a look further back. This is Rory Collins now chasing down Bakir as they come through the southern loop. And again, a very, very tricky corner to get the exit right on. Does Collins have what it takes here to get the driver to set up a pass a little further down at Miller? Let's see what line they take.
Mate, yeah, that's an interesting one. And Stoner Corner, not Stone's Corner that we have up here in Brisbane.
A little different, a little different.
But Stoner Corner, and that's that corner 3, and then of course you go to that Miller corner.
I'm not sure if I want to believe it's named for Casey Stoner. I feel like Phillip Island's got some history I don't know about. But anyhow, we'll roll on along. Check out Ronald Long here making the move. Can he make it past Coloredi here? Coloredi's got the inside line, going to play a little defensively. And it's going to be just enough to push Long wide onto the gravel. And again, won't be able to... Oh, big slide in the background. Chris Philippou just holding it together. That's going to give Jared Williams an opportunity to catch up. But just up the road, we've got the 3 going at it here. Coloredi out in front, Long looking for a way past and certainly looking like he's got the pace. Dickerson tacked onto the back as well. Here they come over Lukey Heights once again. The gravel's starting to clear as some more laps get under the belt. But certainly an ever-present risk if you do find yourself off the line. And these three will make their way down.
Throw some more keen litter back onto it because you see a couple of drivers making a little mistake, so creeping in right now as the tyres start to fall off the Phillip Island cliff a little. But you can certainly see on your timing tower up there, all those oranges means they're close, and battles are occurring.
Stay with this one into turn 1 because Coloridi and Long going side by side. Long decides to pull back in, have another crack out of Southern Loop. Big slide up ahead. Has someone gone sideways? Might be Bakir. It does look like it's Bakir that's gone sideways through Southern Loop. Has he managed to get it back on track though?
I'm just reading the chat at the moment. Oh, that's right. That's the greatest grass. I love it. Thank you very much. It's good having a nice little giggle about this. These drivers, of course, are head down concentrating. They're hopefully laying off the grass whilst they're keeping it on the track.
One would hope so.
13 of 17. Michael's gone up the road. It's 4-second gap to everybody else once he got that clear there. Ryan Palmer now in a P2 position trying to hold off Chris.
Check out Scott Stevens. We are up here in the battle for P7, really. Adrian Gresh caught nil, but Scott Stevens, recovering from that drive-through early on, back up into 9th place. So still 7 from his starting point, but a fantastic recovery.
That's impressive, Scotty.
And then just ahead, here we go. Cupid and James side by side into turn 1. This has been coming for a little while. What's this going to bring?
Hopefully they're not running over my GoPro camera and kept running away, which they didn't.
We're looking after it, I promise. What a shot through Southern Loop. Beautiful pass.
Jake's going to want to slam dunk past Aaron James. Puns attention to the Jordan.
You've been working on that one for a while, haven't you?
You can stick your tongue out while you're driving as well, mate. Makes you go faster, apparently.
Yeah, fair call, fair call. A little further back, some battles raging here still as we see Gresh just looking for a way through Scott Stevens and Seth Stevens just to confuse things.
Sounds like
in the mix as well. Does a little. That's Scott Stevens making it through, so he's back up into 8th as we go through Siberia once again. Lap 14 here of 17 in race 1. The silver split getting underway with some very clean racing, and there's a moment for Adrian Gresh. He's gone around in Siberia. He's going to rejoin, but it's going to cost him some positions. Luke Speck makes his way past as well.
Losing it in Siberia.
And further back, Dickerson and Coloridi still going at it.
This driver's just giving us all the entertainment for puns this evening. Look at that. I love these wide sweeping angles and get an idea of how tight the corner is. And there's another. Just further back in the background. That's caught him. Oh.
No, sorry, Philippou. Having a moment through Siberia. So whether there's some debris on the track or
it turns into ice, like an icing.
It does. It does. But look, we are 15 laps in. These tyres, regardless of the temps, are going to be feeling it by this point of the race. And these drivers will be getting just a little bit slippery as they try and put the power down. But out in front, Ryan Palmer and Michael Brennan, huge gap there, with Chris Pellett still giving Ryan Palmer all sorts of grief. We'll go and check that out as they come down to Miller Corner once again. And Chris Pellett still yet to work away past Ryan Palmer at this point.
He's trying, mate. I like gas it, Chris. Get on the loud pedal. He certainly is. And he's going to do everything he can, throwing the kitchen sink out the window if he has to try to get his safe past Ryan Palmer. He doesn't want to lose another spot. He led most of this race there until Michael eventually got him. And at the moment, he wants to hold on for dear life to get that keep that P2 and keep it away from a very, very quick, the juiced up there, Chris, who's watching this tonight as well too, mate.
I don't know if anyone caught it, but as I went through Siberia, you can see just the sheer amount of marbles that have built up on the outside corner. Big moment for Ryan Palmer. Is that what Pellett needs? Oh. Shuts the door very, very quickly.
Yeah, but that was he left the keys in the front door. That's the problem.
Oh, he has to go back and check. Has to go back and check
this evening, mate. We'll see. I'll tell you what, Ryan's doing a fantastic job holding on for the 1.6 machine.
There at the windscreen of Pellett as well. As they make their way down to turn 1 once more. Lap 16, 2 laps to go. What's Chris Pellett got up the sleeve as we look further back to Scott Stevens, who is now looking to make a move on Josh Marsh just ahead of him. Looks to the outside as we go into turn 1. What's he got up the sleeve of that Camaro? Nothing yet, but setting up for the Southern Loop. Comes inside, looks for a moment, has the door closed in his face. That jinx shift though, he's got a better line. Oh, a little bit of contact.
Yep, that's all right. Little argy-bargy, but that's okay. Lifted off a little bit. Didn't turn him, so he's going to keep it going. Just a little bit of a bump reminder to say, hey, I'm coming through, mate. So you better get ready, Mr. Marsh.
I think he's got to watch now, of course, Seth Stevens.
So what a comeback from Scotty. He's certainly letting everybody know that, a little my bad mistake earlier on that one with the jump start isn't giving up his chance of getting himself in a nice, good top 10 position.
No, and right behind Seth Stevens.
Oh, but he's lost it at the entrance. Scotty, what a save! How did he keep that pointed?
No idea.
Straight after that, mate. I thought he was going around.
Brilliant save, but now that work's been undone, so he's got one lap left to try and make something of this. I'll tell you what, it's a big ask. We'll keep an eye on Ryan Palmer and Chris Pellat just in case we need to jump back up there and see that battle going on. But we'll stick here with the battle for 7th because Josh Marsh is under a huge amount of pressure from Scott Stevens, Seth Stevens and Dane Liciato. All right on his tail as we come around one more time. The white flag is out for our front runners. This is the last lap of race 1 here at Phillip Island. And I tell you what, it's going to be tight.
Race leader going through Doan Corner into the southern loop now, with the rest of the field here are just making their way across the start-finish line. Barney waving that flag. Stevens' final attack there at Mr. Josh Marsh. Josh Marsh has tried to do a solid job. All he has to do is just keep it on the black stuff there for basically another 11 or so corners, and he'll be okay with that. But I tell you what, Scotty's just fighting tooth and nail for that. He bounced up one attack, made a little bit of a mistake, almost went around, but here's a second attempt. I'm not quite sure if the rest of the field, though, will steal his position. He's got to give it as well, too, to Dane in Licciardo in P10, 18 positions up, just squeezed inside the top 10. Fantastic racing here for Heat 1.
Big defensive line there from Marsh. He knows that's caught him out. He's off in the grass.
Right.
And there it is.
Drop 2
He's
places. Dane will get steal this one as well. There it is. There's Dane.
Absolutely. So Scott Stevens back up to 7th. What a recovery for him. As we see Michael Brennan just make it up and over Lukey Heights and coming around for, in the end, a pretty cruisy victory. Almost 5 seconds out in front. He's still got to make it there yet, and I don't want to curse him because I do that from time to time unintentionally.
Oh, and he goes around. No, he won't. Michael
Josh Marsh, though,
fall for that one, mate.
Have a look. He almost had it back over Licciardo there, and just not enough in the end. Michael Brennan takes the win. Ryan Palmer coming through with P2 and Pellat in P3 just behind. Hayden Cupid in 4th. Aaron James coming through behind there. Jake Robiard, then Scott Stevens, Seth Stevens, Dane Liciato and Josh Marsh all making their way down the home straight. And what an opening race for the Silver Split. A little bit of what should we say? A little bit of back and forth early on, a few incidents, but cleaned up very, very nicely. And in the end, a really, really exciting race all round.
Yeah, I'd say it was very, very clean racing, and even when there was a little bit of argy-bargy, we clearly saw that some of the drivers were admirable enough to say my bad and lift it off there, and that's what's happened. So Michael Brennan gets the job done. As you can see currently the race results for the first split of the MCV8
Fantastic race to open the season, and yeah, Michael Brennan really earning that one. 4.5 seconds out in front of Ryan Palmer, then Chris Pellat in 3rd. Now, of course, what we're going to see here, a reverse top 10. So Josh Marsh going to be starting on pole in race 2 ahead of alongside Dane Liciato. And then the 2 Stevens, just to make our life really difficult here, Biggles, on row 2 alongside each other. Jake Robiard and Aaron James will be in row 3, then Chris Pellat and Hayden Cupid, and Michael Brennan and Ryan Palmer starting back in 9th and 10th. So a bit of a reverse grid there. Unfortunately, of course, the grid won't display properly for these delayed broadcasts, but we will do the best we can to cover that.
So keep an eye on Dane as well to that reverse grid, because Dane and Ricardo there up 19 places would be very interesting. Yeah, it's the quadruple S's, isn't it, when you get them all together with the Scott Stevens and Steph Stevens. Quadruple S's, mate.
So plenty going on, and as we look a little bit further back through the results, who else do we have there? Luke Speck in 11th, Adrian Gresh and Martin Hallinan in 12th and 13th. Angus Brown and Roy Collins ahead of Daniel Harrod and Reece Dickerson. Then Ronald Long and Matt Bakir the Alpine Pro Racing team, finishing in 18th and 19th, so consistent, we can give him that for sure. Jared Williams, not his day, finishing out in 20th, but ahead of Camilo Collerini. Martin Lipsky, for what we saw earlier, unfortunately not as far up the field as he probably deserved to be with some of those early moves. Chris Phillip, who had a few moments, and that's pushed him back through the field, along with Greg Patrick, and Jesse Sterlo, the last to finish on the lead lap. Darren Lofton, unfortunately a bit of a shocker for him, and then Jamie Taylor, Pat Trappett, further back, finishing out the field of 28 there in race 1. So not a bad way to start at all. Great to have so many of the drivers in the chat tonight. Hope you are enjoying the coverage, of course, as we get ready to bring you race number 2, as we wait for iRacing to just do its thing and progress this session for us so that we can get underway once again. Biggles, any thoughts after race 1?
Oh, I just say
yes, I have thoughts.
I don't know. We don't know what to expect, of course, because the dress rehearsal's over now. The main event's on, so they've got a taste of the conditions, got a taste of how the tyres feel after 17 laps. It'll be certainly interesting for sure, Jared.
Absolutely. As we wait for the drivers to grid up, we get ready for race number 2. So again, Hayden Cupid and Angus Brown starting on pole. Michael Brennan further back. Ryan Palmer back in 9th, 10th alongside him. It's going to be a very, very interesting start. We go down to the grid as we watch the drivers getting ready to get underway once again. And we will be underway, I'm sure, in no time at all. Everyone just jumping back in the cars after probably a well-deserved stretch of the legs. And they'll need it ahead of this 34-lap second race. So twice the distance. Pit stop's going to come into play here, I am sure. We are just about ready to go racing as the last of the drivers join the grid. Here we go. We're under starters orders. The lights are up. And we are away once again. A fantastic start there for Josh Marsh. And then, of course, ahead of him, is that Scott Stevens? It is.
Yes, it is.
Straight away, jumping out to the front. Here they go through turn 1.
So the quadruple S's are in play for P2 and P3. Josh Marsh and Chris is in P5.
Bit of contact in the background. What have we got? Oh, that's Adrian Gresh off into the wall there. Not what he would have hoped for to start his race. That could bring on a safety car here. We've seen a bit of back and forth as well. A couple more drivers off. Luke Speck has found himself in the grass. Tell you what, we're lucky to get through there without more incident. But plenty going on all over the track. Out in front, though.
Oh, contact.
Big moment. That's Jake Robillard. It is. Jake Robillard getting caught up in that as well. So plenty going on lap 1 here. Guys, it's a 34-lap race. You've got time. Take it easy. Back on cold tyres.
I think they realised the first race, mate, how difficult it is to overtake, so they're going to seize the opportunity early as much as possible, but sometimes they'll large too early. Dane's in the lead. I tell you what, Dane will be the one to watch on this one, because we know Dan Liccardo was the biggest gainer at the moment. Scott Stevens is going to try to make sure we get past that Ford 17, and then Steph Stevens just a little bit back there looking over his rearview mirrors at Chris Pellet.
So much going on already, and so much for change. That reverse top 10 getting absolutely moved around as we see Hayden Cupid just dropping a few spots. Lipsky now dropping back. It looks like he's run off the road in the background. He certainly has. That corner out of Lukey Heights catching him out there. But back to the front we go. Chris Pellat running the fastest lap around lap 1, a low 38. Not a bad way to start off the line. And big contact. That sends Josh Marsh off into the grass. He is a long way off in the grass.
Oh,
Not
Josh,
what he would
just
hope for.
unfortunate, doing such a solid job defending in the first heat race and had to concede a couple of places when I went up in the kitty litter. This time he's deep into the kitty litter at the moment, building sandcastles. Well, it's not that much of a kitty litter in the grass at the moment. He didn't go off at Stoner Corner, did he? Or was that too soon?
Turn one. Oh, and we've got, that's Chris Pellat around. Managed to recover it somehow. So, of course, we've got moves up and down the field. This is now Jake Robillard making his way through as Hallinan tries to get settled again. And all this is doing is giving a bit of a gap to those front three. Chris Pellat now, after that recovery, finds himself in P4, but a couple of seconds behind P3 all of a sudden. So really, the front three out battling on their own now. And here we go through Lukey Heights. Scott Stevens pushing up through, and they're putting the pressure on Dane now.
Josh Marsh in the pit lane, you can see down the bottom at the moment, are just electing to, taking advantage of that situation of getting off the track there and saying, hey, I'll get my pit stop over and done with, and we'll see what depends out later. Big pressure at the moment, as you saw, mounting for the lead of this race, an opportunity. Probably not in doing corner. You want to get side by side in doing corner, and then as you get down to the southern loop, you're going to go side by side. Here we go. So it's an opportunity at the moment. Scott Stevens was blinking a little bit and was in heat one, so fingers crossed, Scotty, out there, that your internet connection holds up there, because we want to continue to see this great racing that you're doing.
Let's mention the livery. I've got to come back to livery. It's beautiful. But here we go again, through Southern Loop. Keeping an eye on the background just to see if anyone else has come together, but it seems to be all clean so far. And these guys actually starting to pull a little bit of distance on Seth Stevens. Now, whether that's Seth just trying to take it a bit easy on the tyres while he's got some clear air behind him is one question, but it could well be, judging by the last laps. These guys are almost a second quicker than P3, so the pace definitely out here at the front of the pack. And then, of course, Chris Pellart heading up an absolute monster pack in the battle for P4, which we'll go and take a look at in just a moment. I do want to stick with this one, though, because Scott Stevens reeling in Ricciardo here, and there's a real opportunity here as he comes up the inside. They come up to Lukey Heights, right on the tail. Can he make a move down the hill here, or is he going to play it safe?
Good defensive driving from Ricciardo. You could see just parking in the right place. Knows how difficult it is around here, and Scotty knows how difficult it is to overtake around here as well. So, of course, Scotty, who did put the car right up in the front grid there after that penalty in Heat 1, certainly fighting for a race victory here. It's still early days, of course, lots of racing to go. But I think at the moment, if anything, Scotty's just going to stick his nose in and apply some pressure. Or is he going to go for the lead?
Late on the brakes, not quite late enough, though. Dane just reminding him that, yeah, I can do this too.
He's blinking if I'm out in front, too, mate. There it is. That's why you're seeing on the scoreboard there. And Scotty's watching, so pretty sure no spoiler alerts at Scotty, but we'll see how that pans out. Ryan Palmer just set the fastest lap. Now, Ryan Palmer back in P6 currently at the moment, and he's just behind our Heat 1 race winner there of Michael Brennan.
It's a quick group too. Chris Pellart at the head of that battle for P4, 134.19, and a 34.08 for Brennan, a 33.98.
Oh, he's put his nose in.
Oh, that was a big
Scotty's
dive.
Just had to back off, lift off a big time, and bigged him into play there. So Scott Stevens into Steph Stevens, there it is.
There it is.
It's not the law firm. And Chris Pellet's in the play, and Michael. So this is big time here. Well, a tiny little mistake, you get your nose in there, gets chopped off. That will allow Dane Ricciardo now to have a little bit of breathing space, about 1.5 seconds actually, to be a little bit of breathing space.
I've got to put this out into the world though. Scott Stevens and Seth Stevens. If you're not in law, Stevens and Stevens are still a great racing team name, just saying.
Oh yeah,
worth a
look.
look.
You're going to be in the same team actually, guys. You can see if you can get that one.
Absolutely.
So it'd be fun
but
for us
now, wouldn't it just? They are battling hard, but take a look at this behind the two juiced entries going at it. Michael Brennan wants to get past Chris Pellart here. Ryan Palmer in the background threatening as well. This seems like almost a repeat of race one. These three battling it out, although in a slightly different order this time around, and only lap 4, so still plenty of racing ahead. But the pack here behind them, it's hard to gauge at the pace you get down the front end of Phillip Island down that main straight, but very little to separate from 4th through to about 9th or 10th. All really just nose to tail effectively, with just a few tenths between a lot of them. Some great
Scotty's
racing
clearly
ahead
got
of
some,
us.
Scott Stevens that is, has clearly got some pace, because he's managed to chip that
it up again, hasn't he?
He's chipped half that gap back to Dane, so I presume that's going to be back onto the cards there, the battle for P1 very soon, and that's now adding Steph Stevens into play here once again. These guys should be teammates, as referring to that one. Scotty just mentioned he's not sure about that blinker. Now, just to let everybody know, in iRacing, Scotty won't be blinking to himself when he's racing. This is what we see up in the broadcasting booth, as well as the other drivers. But he will certainly investigate into that one. But it's certainly entertaining, Scotty, and we're loving this battle. And there it is. You can see almost in your timing tower. If Brennan can get past Chris, and Chris can join the back of Steph Stevens, we're going to have a nice 1 second gap between the top 10.
Absolutely, we will. Now, keeping an eye here on the battle, back in 10th, really, this pack. We've got, battle for 11th, rather. We've got Dickerson here. Oh, big moment. Big moment. That's Collins, who's run off. Look at all the Sideways Esports entries here, just crowding out. Crowding out. Poor old Greg Patrick.
That's going to be an argy-bargy of the teams, isn't it? They could clearly just block him out there as Stevens just sets the fastest lap. As you can see there, sets the purple down, 33.6 on the dial there. So it really come close to the battle for the lead here with Dane. And I told you it wouldn't take too long to get that ding-ding resuming all over again, my friend. And there it is. Look at this.
The Sideways Esports
spot the car, spot the driver. I mean, 1, 2, 3. They almost look identical. Well,
absolutely. So they really do, don't they? It's a tough one to keep an eye on.
Change their mirrors or something on the rear fender or wing or something like that to different colours so we can kind of spot them out here in the podcast.
Absolutely. Rory Collins, Angus Brown and Hayden Cupid all there ahead of Greg Patrick for the Full Send Motorsports team. Out in front, though, Scott Stevens picking right back up where he was before that moment, straight back on Dane's tail, the other Sideways Esport entry, currently leading the race, but here comes Scott Stevens looking to make the pass around the outside, a high-speed section of the track. He's got to lift off there, but can he set up? Doesn't quite get the nose in time. He's going to have to just sit in behind and look for another opportunity. Again, Phillip Island proving to be a very, very difficult spot to pass. No sooner have I said that, though, he sends it up the inside, pushes Lisiado wide. Bit of door-to-door action there.
Oh, Scott it's going to cost big time. There's collision at the back there. So
that's
Stevens gone around into Seth and into the kitty litter.
Not what he had hoped for, I'm sure.
Guess who brings up the P2 currently at the moment? I don't know what happened. Michael Brennan was just saying about there that didn't see him cross the line. I saw you flashing the lights across the line and celebrating that Heat 1 victory. Tell you what, right now, we're seeing you at P2 as the battle's resuming behind you for P3.
And what a battle it is. Right behind him, Seth Stevens, Chris Pellett and Ryan Palmer all bunched up. So Dane Licciardo gets himself a little bit of breathing space, but it won't last long if these guys keep this sort of pace up. It's only a couple of seconds. Oh, a big touch there. Ryan Palmer just reminding Stevens that he's in this too. And down we go. Look at the gap opening up. Brennan puts the foot down, looking to close that gap up and challenge for P2 himself now. Everyone getting a smooth entry. Palmer pushes through.
The Vodafone entry, as you can see, the McLaren-esque Vodafone. And here we go, mate, around Siberia. Sweeping camera angle.
Ryan Palmer, what was that move there? Just cutting across the corner. I don't know where he found the extra grip. But of course, that means that he's going to have to battle on here. Hasn't quite gotten the pace out of the corner. So it's now all of a sudden Ryan Palmer leading a bit of a battle pack there as Pellett and Brennan start to pull away out in front. He's not out of touch yet, but he is going to be challenged very, very soon by the likes of James Robiard, Hallinan, all tacking onto the back of this one. Stevens and Palmer, you're not at the back of the pack anymore. You're now leading it out, and you're going to have to keep your eyes on the mirrors as we come around to start lap 8 of this second race. I tell you what, we're only a quarter of the way through here. So much happening already. Pit stops are going to play a massive part here, aren't they, Biggles?
Oh, they're going to be, and I'm just wanted to ask everybody in the chat there, how did that, because I really can't remember, I've done about 3 races since, mate, if the undercut or the overcut pays off here at Phillip Island. Scott Stevens is fighting his way back up through that after heading off into the kitty litter. He just hit the fastest lap at 33. He's down there in P10, so I wouldn't count him out of getting back up to the front, as we've seen that before. I mean, you can throw the kitchen sink at Scotty, and he will throw it back at you and get the job done when it's needed to be. Overtaking opportunities
back here. Up the inside, takes a moment. Now it's Aaron James managed to recover. Was Martin Hallinan going to get through as well? Side by side. Hallinan, a little bit of a blink there. That's going to make life difficult. But, of course, James on the inside manages to push him wide. And Jake Robiard getting just a little bit more pace as a result. A little bit more time to breathe. Rory Collins swapping places further back with Luke Speck as the Sideways Esports entries try and decide who's going to lead this train for this lap.
As long as they don't go sideways whilst doing it, it should be all good, mate.
I want to see a drift train here now. Honestly, I want to see a drift train.
It's going to be a little scary, isn't it, for the other drivers behind him, because they're going to be like, as you can just see in the background right there, it's like, he's going to be like, how am I going to get past these 3 here? They're certainly going to be working together. Sometimes working together too much, mate, can end up, the first rule, of course, is motorsports, don't take out your teammates, and it does happen more than often.
Yeah, far too often, unfortunately. And we've seen it plenty of times. There's no real team orders going on in this league or any of the others that we see for that matter. As we take a look a bit further ahead, Seth Stevens now looking for a move on Ryan Palmer as they make their way around onto lap 9. It's not something that we see much. There's not a real team orders or a team strategy at play here, which I think honestly is for the best. I think it's better for everyone to be racing on their own merits. And sure, if you happen to be running in a train with teammates, fantastic. But I would hate to see, particularly with the likes of, and not at all, I will say, putting Sideways Esport forward as a potential problem. But when you've got that many entries, if you decide to work as a team and really block the course up, you could make a huge difference to the race. So I'm glad that hasn't made its way into this.
You could, yeah. Psychologically as well, too. People see that, and you'd have to block that out of your mind, going, just ignore the fact that there's all these cars there if you're battling with them. Just get that out of your head, just think, okay, just basically turn off your training peaks and just have it all, every car's blank in your mind. So you just chip away one car at a time when trying to overtake, and expect it not going to be working together too much this early in the season, as you can currently see there from Michael Brennan, who's our race 1 winner, and they're in the chat. It's just 45-degree steering check on the onboard. Check on the straight. That's an idea. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Let's have a look. We are riding shotgun with Mikey in the shotgun seat. You got your seatbelt strapped up tight there, Michael, as we're on board.
That steering wheel not actually as straight as I would expect. He's copped some damage here, hasn't he?
I think so. That's why he's pointed it out to us. Good call, good catch. Yeah, it should be that little indicator in the middle of the steering wheel should be pointed dead center when you're going
that should
straight.
Be vertical. Absolutely. What on earth have you hit there?
Alignment, mate, down into your local auto. Look at that. It's fight with the steering wheel, and as you would be expecting, because it's not the easiest thing around here. So, Michael, he's won a race before. Right? His first race of the Supercar season, so he's well aware of it, and he's only got 2 cars up the road to do it again.
This is the really tricky thing, right? Like, you've put in so many practice laps, you know exactly the sort of steering angles you want to hold as he makes up some ground there on Chris Pellat. And then, of course, you cop a little bit of steering damage, and all of a sudden, you've got to overcompensate for that and then undercompensate in the opposite direction. Up on the tail here, Pellat.
If it is bent out of steering alignment, it's working right now for Michael. He's putting massive pressure there on Chris's Frog League Juiced Racing number 186 Ford. Don't worry, Michael, the Fords will blow up. We'll just get that position back. There's 2 of them up the road.
Never one to miss an opportunity to take a dig at the Fords, are you, Biggles?
Yeah, get that kitty litter out to the left, mate, and you're in trouble. You can see it when we're riding on shotgun there with Michael, how much there is on that track there. So you're going to go too wide out there, you'll be in the kitty litter yourself.
Yeah, you really can't afford to pass around the outside of that corner at the bottom of Lukey Heights. The best you can do is try and jam it up the inside and force your competitor wide to leave you some space. That's a lap around Phillip Island with Michael Brennan, though, setting an absolutely cracking pace at 1:35.4 that time, but 1:34.08 his best, so right up there with Ryan Palmer's fastest lap. So
appreciate
always,
that, mate.
Always good to get
me
on
back
board.
into the casting booth, both of us actually, from riding shotgun with you safely, so much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's
so
got
away we
Palmer
go.
for a company at the moment, mate, and he's been in that situation Heat 1, haven't it? Those two went at it 2 for now. Ryan Palmer's no slash there for the ADHD racing team, and Michael's trying to get past Chris as Ryan's trying to get past Michael.
Let's keep an eye on this one because the battle's about to heat up here. Ryan Palmer's joined on the back. I think Brennan's been held up just enough. Meanwhile, out in front, Dane's out to 3.5 seconds lead. Long way out in front. So.
Oh yeah, I got my money on this one. You know, you should don't bet real coin. Just bet for virtual. Yeah, that
always,
way if you lose, you don't lose anything.
Absolutely.
Dane, I picked to get this one because if I think Michael might know that too as well, because clearly if he wants to get this win again, he's got to get past Chris right now. And Chris Pellet's doing a solid job there, holding the ball at bay. But we're expecting this kind of pit stops coming
Scott
soon,
Stevens.
We had late pit stops as well.
Whoa.
That's a late send from Mr. Stevens, but he's trying to make his way back up through the places, isn't it, Scott Stevens? He's back up to P9 after going off from the Q letter earlier. And so, as I said, don't count out Scotty. I'm just curious about those pit stops too, Jared.
Yeah, look, we'll probably start to... you'd have to think most of these drivers are thinking about the halfway point because, again, if you pit too early here, you're just going to have a longer stint. As we see Scott Stevens sending it up the inside into turn one, a huge run late on the brakes. That's going to be enough to take him through on Robillard. What can Jake do to respond here? Not much. Stevens too quick and establishes himself well into Southern Loop. It's a really it's a tricky one because if you stay out too long, you're going to lose time before you get into the pits. You come in too early, you're just going to lose it at the other end. You've got to make the call, but usually about halfway. So I reckon we're probably... we'd have to be still, I reckon, another 4 or 5 laps from the first of the pit stops beginning to happen.
You need to be like box. Get the air guns out, mate.
The man in his soundboard can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Now look ahead.
I mean, there's a possibility. I'd say.
Sorry.
Go ahead, mate. Sorry.
Martin Hallinan closing the gap here again on Aaron James. So while Scott Stevens has been moving up, Hallinan's been getting closer and closer and looking for an opportunity here to get past James in that Jordan livery. What's he got coming over Lukey Heights? Is he going to jam it to the inside here? Oh, big defensive move. Fantastic move.
Dunk it.
Look, either way.
Lob it.
James has closed the door. Absolutely there. And he's going to have to set up it once again.
He's done what they did. He's called the old block. And if Martin puts his nose in too much, he might get called for the charge. There you go.
Could happen.
Guns are coming out thick and fast. You're like 13.
Absolutely they are as we make our way around once again. Coming down to turn one. These guys perhaps just a little too spaced out to make anything of it at this point, but it's all about Southern Loop and the exit out of there that sets up your next passing move in just a couple of corners' time. What does Hallinan have, and what has Stevens got just behind? He's caught these guys up in no time at all. Hallinan, obviously the quicker pace through that corner over James. He's closed the gap right up, looks to set himself up, but James gets the drive out of Southern Loop. Down we come again. And again, defensive sort of line, not quite out as far as you might have thought for James. These guys bunching up, Stevens in the background. Really, really late on brakes there.
I think what, like Josh said, if you tuned in obviously to Monday night, and Josh has got a fantastic comedy saying slipping one past the keeper and stuff like that. It's almost like you're a bowler, isn't it? In a cricket match, sometimes where you place your car, you try to bowl it so that you're going to get, try to trick somebody into a catch or something like that. That's what you've also got to do as motorist driving, such psychological games. Just slightly leave the door open a little bit. Force them into thinking about going down there. If they get it all wrong, they're in the kitty litter, or they'll outbrake themselves and lose too much power on the exit of the corners. There's a lot at play here, and I think that's what makes it for fantastic motorsport entertainment.
Now, if you're Scott Stevens right now, and I know he's out in the chat, so perhaps he can weigh in on this. I'm just watching Aaron James continue to take a defensive line as he comes down from Lukey Heights. That's really encouraging Hallinan to look for the wider entry. But if I'm in Scott Stevens' seat right now, I'm watching that and setting up to take a big dive to the inside that Hallinan leaves open. So Hallinan's got to be really, really careful here that he doesn't create too much of an opportunity for Stevens as he tries to work around Aaron James just ahead.
Actually, mistake up the road from James, yes. So now...
Side by side now.
Yeah, now Scotty in the background has to sit there and watch this show up the road there, side by side. I don't think I want to squeeze his car in between them.
This is going to get messy. Aaron James has backed it off. There's Scott Stevens looking around the outside.
Scotty won't yield, mate. You know that. You've seen that. He's got the fighting
Aaron
spirit.
James.
Look at that.
Look at the drive through the corner.
James had left off. He's lost it a little bit. Scotty's got to put his nose in there. Bingo. He says, thank you very much. I'll take that any day of the week. And unfortunately for Aaron James, just in the space of a couple corners, drops back to P8.
All of a sudden it changes up again. Aaron James is going to have to really work to hang on to the back of these guys. They are both very, very quick. Meanwhile, Luke Speck up the inside of Siberia as well. Greg Patrick forced to the outside, but they're going to be side by side as they make their way up through the S's. Greg Patrick pulls out in front. Luke Speck setting up for another opportunity further down the road.
Jamie Taylor went off too for the Danger Zone Motorsports back in P19, but has got back up into there because a little bit of pressure there from Aidan Grinch there for the Alpine Racing team as well. It looks like almost bumper cars sometimes in some of those corners when somebody brakes a little bit early. You're also going to be as sharp as if you're following a car. You've got to, I wouldn't recommend that on the highway, of course. You've got to keep yourself at least 2 or 3 car lengths behind the car up the road, but not in motorsports, mate. You just go bumper to bumper.
Absolutely. What's a little bit of rubbing? Rubbing's racing. As we see Hallinan and Stevens now starting to open that gap over James. And Hallinan will be under pressure here as Stevens wants to atone for his performance in race 1, which we have to say wasn't bad at all, but was coming from a long way back. He's side by side now, he gets the drive. We've got a pit stop, Jamie Taylor going in for Danger Zone Motorsports. Scott Stevens makes the move and pushes through and past Hallinan there. So all in all, made it look reasonably easy. Starting to see the first of these pit stops happening now. So what are we, lap 15? That's probably a little earlier than I would like to be thinking about, but...
Just take halfway through there, Jared. And, every time I see Jamie Taylor in the danger zones, that song comes in my head, of course, from the Top Gun movie. I've been through the danger zone. Mustang, this is Ghost Rider. And there you go. Top Mavericks in the pit lane at the moment. That's Jamie Taylor. Don't get me started with Top Gun.
Ryan Palmer.
At the moment, mate, as we're seeing Ryan Palmer try to hold off the other Stevens of Steph, and I think you called that one, Scotty, because believe it or not, on your timing tower, P5 and P6 is the Stevens and Stevens show too.
It absolutely is. And Ryan Palmer doing everything he can and now starting to put a bit of a gap ahead of Seth Stevens. In the background, of course, Scott Stevens and Martin Hallinan fighting it out. How we're going to keep up with that, I have no idea.
No, mate, all season long, I think Scotty picked it out there, and he's like, you boys are going to have fun with that one this season. And hey, as long as you two are glued together on track, we certainly will, mate. So it's really up to you guys, okay? You know, we're just putting, Jared's pointing the camera and we're talking about it. You guys are the actors that are on this Coliseum of the tracks.
Doing everything I can to make sure we separate them on camera, but if you'd stop driving next to each other, it would be a lot easier. Further back in the field, Jared Williams, fresh out of what he started back in 27th, so he's making some moves here up past Chris Phillip now, making that pass look fairly easy. And yeah, a few close battles going on, but the field's starting to get spaced out. So these tyres starting to exhibit a bit of wear. Chris Phillip, who got the much better drive and takes that spot straight back again. So here we go. Look out for contact here.
Of course, for the southern loop. This is where you can seize a little opportunity to get your nose in. It's just sweeps and sweeps and sweeps, doesn't it? It's like this corner.
It really does. Goes forever. Like. Double apex. You really can't do it as a single. There's no way. You can run that as a single.
And what happened to Palmer? I don't have to switch it over one, mate, because Ryan Palmer and Martin, our race winner from Heat 1, they're going for it too for now. What else is happening? Yep, there you go. So I'm not quite sure.
Going on all over the place. And
there,
look,
actually, was there an
not,
OT?
No, look, I think just a bit of back and forth there. It looks like Ryan Palmer may have run off track just a little earlier, and that's given Martin Hallinan just enough to get past him and get down the track a little bit. So he's got some work to do there, Ryan Palmer. But further back, of course, Jared Williams and Chris Phillip, who's still going at it as they come up to Lukey Heights, and nothing much to separate them here.
Well, this was Scott Stevens as well, fastest man on the track, on the back there of Steph Stevens. And I'll tell you what, I mean, Scotty, I'll tell you, if you want to be an advertiser at the moment, mate, you want to put something on his car, because he's always in the pictures.
So this is the moment that Ryan Palmer's had. We'll get this back up to pace. He's just gone too wide there, and that's cost him.
He saved it, but he saved it.
Just barely.
So that's
you
can take him seriously. He's a serious driver with the SpongeBob helmet on. That. I mean, he's almost doored.
Oh, that was close.
Coming back on there.
That was very close.
Solid save. Better losing 1 or 2 places going off and then coming back on track than it is going completely around, mate. So there he is, but he's still in it. Don't count out Ryan Palmer just yet. They're back at P7 currently.
No, I'm still just sitting and trying to decide if he's actually wearing a shirt in there. It's disturbing.
I've seen a few drivers with the old SpongeBob helmet on there, and it just, when you're getting into the danger zone and when you get into the serious motorsport, sometimes you get a little smile on your face when you see a driver with a helmet like that. I wish it led to that in the real world too, isn't it? Because you can imagine having somebody with a SpongeBob helmet when you're out to overtake you at 200 miles an hour.
It's a terrifying thought, honestly. These guys still going at it. Phillipou and Jared Williams still going back and forth. While we're taking a look at these guys spaced out a little bit from the field, have a look at just the amount of suspension movement through these corners. You're not going to see it from this side, but these cars get so much squat as they load up the suspension.
Sponsorship like Pettis suspension, if you're paying attention. They go, look at that, Pettis suspension on your mate. Your car wouldn't body roll like that. So
just so much
you're
tyre
right, isn't it,
tuck.
Jared?
Huge amount. So we come down to turn 1 again. Jared Williams not able to find the pace that he needs. Let's jump up further ahead though. Ryan Palmer, Aaron James, and Jake Robiard now getting into it. So James finds himself in the middle of another battle.
Palmer's little loosey-goosey on the rear end coming into that one there from...
Down Lukey Heights we go.
From, that's...
Ryan Palmer's struggling.
That's right. You can
he
see
is. The tyres just starting to... starting to maybe go a little. He might have to start thinking about pits soon. But he's managed to open up a bit of a gap again.
Box. There's the pit lane entrance, so they did do those lap around here, lap 18.
Lap 18, that's starting to really push these tyres out, isn't it? I suppose every extra lap that you can survive, though, gives a little bit less fuel that you need to load on and a little bit less time spent in the pits doing it. But these drivers will have to be thinking about it soon, surely.
Look at the great southern sunset kicking in down here at Phillip Island. Look at that. As you can just see the more orange tint that starts to peel in. Look at it. It starts to look more and more picturesque. It's fantastic. I'm sure the lads out there, the gladiators out there are enjoying themselves as the track temperature will start dropping a little bit more as well into the evening. And this great little battle because you can get pictures for P6.
Yeah, it's something a bit special about late afternoon racing. Just that golden hour, right? Darren Lofton looking to the pits there. Looks like he's... not sure what's happened for Lofton there, but he's a lot further back than the lead pack here. Keeping our eyes, of course, on Aaron James and Jake Robiard. They've been going out for a little while now. Just up ahead, though, Ryan Palmer starting to close the gap back up to Stevens, so he's found that little bit of extra pace. Maybe he is getting a little light on fuel, and that's perhaps going to be enough for him to start to bring it to Stevens. Or he could be just lining up that pit stop at this point. Always
I'm wondering too, because if anybody's got feedback there from they're going to pit right now, right? Are you called it? So P1, P2 into pit road. And, obviously they're going to get 4 freshies, 4 definitely new freshies there, or stickers, or whatever you want to call them. Either way, you need them, because they can connect you to the track there. And I am down there in pit lane. I can hear them with the wheel guns going there, mate. So they get them.
Quickest Gen 3 supercar team you've ever heard, I reckon, as Liciato and Pellat get their pit stops out of the way. Angus Brown going in now, back in 14th as well, so he's in for a bit of fuel and some tyres. How many more laps can these guys really do on this first set? That's the question.
Didn't we see in the gold split some drivers running out of gasoline at the end too?
Oh, look, I don't think we did in the end. We were worried about it, but I think ultimately what it ended up being was just that the two teammates joined up for a bit of celebration more than anything.
Ah, right. Okay, there you go. Thank you. So when are the rest of the field going to come in? Michael Brennan now back into this race. He's familiar territory. He won the Heat 1. And big congratulations to that, winning for the first time in the Gen 3s here at the MC Motorsports in the Silver Split. Other drivers you can see down on the bottom of your screen there with the pit stops.
Yeah, Gresh going in, as is
fantastic. Williams. It tells you the time in the overall pit lane. And inside that little box, it'll also tell you how much time that it'll be stationary for.
Great to have you along, Michael Brennan. Thanks for hanging around and enjoy the rest of the coverage.
But you make it simple.
That's what we're here for. Aaron James just... trying to hang on to the back of Jake Robiard here, doing his absolute best. And let's keep an eye out on the pits. Michael Brennan goes in. So as Michael leaves the chat, goes into the pits, as does Ryan Palmer, as does Seth Stevens. So we've got quite a few of them.
Rest of that one, mate. Well, hopefully your pit stop's okay.
Coming on in. So Aaron James gets himself some clear air. Let's see what he can do with it. Scott Stevens and Martin Hallinan find themselves out in front. But, of course, pit stops beckon for them. And some new rubber, a little bit more fuel, and another 14 laps or so to go from here until we wave the checkered flag once again at Phillip Island. You know,
so I'm wondering how they're going to go, because Chris has gone in for his pit stop, and I want to see if Chris Pellet will be able to jump as these drivers, because they're going to pit road now.
Looks like he has.
So Michael's come out just ahead of Chris.
Dane.
There it is.
Yeah,
so that's provisionally P1 of this race right now, mate.
Behind, so Chris Pellet has stayed ahead. Ryan Palmer's coming out in what looks like effectively fifth. Yes. So they're all starting to get sorted out as they make their way out of the pits. A few spots gained and lost as cars at full pace come down that main straight and make their way past the pit exit. But all those tyres coming lap 18, lap 19, so these guys will be fairly light. Scott Stevens
Chris
now,
took
though,
the
out in
undercut,
front.
so he jumped in one lap earlier than Michael. I don't know what happened to Dane. Dane Liccardo was leading this race. Dane's now in P3 provisionally, let's say, with those pit stops. So Dane... 23-second pit stop. Dane must have had a problem in there. He's watching currently at the moment. It's got to go down.
I think he's just taken a lot of fuel. So Scott Stevens into the pits now. Martin Hallinan
more than the rest of the field here, mate. Unless they're the only one going to make it to the end. But
that's the question.
A little bit bell-shaped there for Dane.
That is the question. Reece Dickerson coming into the pits now as well. So Aaron James and Hayden Cupid get their moment up at the front of the pack. But Martin Hallinan catching up to some traffic from further back by the look of things.
Yeah,
looks like is that
as well. Just to let it, I like that. You guys could probably explain that one, Scotty, about to people like us that don't drive and just people that are sitting in, family members and so forth, watching it, about the heel and toe. I know that's a little bit of a talking point, and with racing.
I am offended, Biggles, that you haven't turned to me immediately to explain that.
Sorry.
So here we go.
You've got to point all the cameras at the right place. I don't want to get you too busy with all the action.
Oh, yeah,
okay. I know that you're a busy man, you know. So
we'll keep an eye on this battle going on here between Brennan and Dane as we talk about the just generally unsettled nature of these Gen 3s. So absolutely, it is a risk that when you are downshifting these, if you haven't rev matched at all, if you don't have the auto blip turned on in iRacing, it's a real possibility to compression lock it. And even with the auto blip turned on, what I've found with them is that it's actually not quite enough to completely settle the rear tyres. And so what you find, if you watch really, really carefully, big contact. Big contact as Brennan absolutely cops it. Now, what's Dane going to do? Is he going to hold off here? So Scott Stevens has come past. Michael Brennan doing his best to catch up. Dane Licciardo carries on. Okay, so we'll see what the stewards have to say about that one. Michael Brennan finds himself further back as a result and probably carrying a bit of damage.
Top 3 in pit road as well too. So it'll just leave Greg Patrick goes for the full send Motorsports into pit lane as well. That will put Chris into the lead of the race, which we think currently is at the moment there. Chris Bell, a net leader in the 186 Ford machine. Chris, I hope it doesn't blow up on you, mate. You should be okay. Fingers crossed on that one with give or take about 12 laps to go.
Plenty of time for him to make it past Martin Hallinan. Hallinan just arriving at his pits now. So Chris Pellat finds himself in the effective lead. Greg Patrick, to give him his moment, is out in P1 right now, but he'll be thinking about a stop very soon, I'm sure. So anyhow, as I was saying about the... Michael Brennan is caught right up to Hallinan.
Arca braking.
This one.
Is that what they call it there?
So... Well, maybe.
Keep an eye on Michael Brennan and Martin.
And the outside of Southern Loop. That is brave. Be careful. So Michael Brennan doing what he can there. As you shift down, even with the auto blip turned on, and I'll admit I do have that turned on.
So explain this auto because I'm not a driver, mate.
So
I'm an audience member. You know, if you've got your missus out there watching
very, very
or whatever,
your
partner, and they don't know anything about motorsports. You got to get layman's terms, mate, for us.
So in short, obviously as you change down a gear, your revs have to be higher to be matching the speed of your wheels. Are we comfortable with that?
Yep, got it.
Okay, so as you change down, the idea with these, because you can just effectively jam the box into that gear, if your revs aren't somewhere close, it's actually possible for these engines to compression lock.
Oh, look out. Sorry to cut you off on that one. There's a bit of off-track moment. You can see the kitty litter. That is Dane and Scott have come together. So Dane Liccardo and Scotty have come together there. And they may have just lost a ton of places there to the Martin and Michael show that we were just watching there.
Makes for some exciting close racing here all of a sudden, though, doesn't it?
Jared? Sorry?
It makes some exciting close racing now, though, as these guys...
Yeah, Liccardo's head back in the pit lane. So Dane's head back in the pit road after leading this race.
Black flagged. So that's for that contact.
Oh, dear.
No, I'm not sure actually what that contact is from. I was going to say that was the contact earlier with... I want to say...
Is there a chance we can go back and have a look at that?
Unfortunately not. I've lost that one.
Yeah, it's a little harder work on of course, broadcast live. I understand that, mate. But yeah, well, maybe out there in the chat, somebody can elaborate a little bit on a little bit wrong. I'll tell you what, somebody else's losses, other drivers' gains, as you can see on your pictures right now. It's a big gain there for both Martin and Michael, and that's not a law firm. That's 2 drivers.
Absolutely, it is. So anyway, picking it back up as we keep our eye here on the battle between Brennan and Stevens, just off the back of Hallinan. In short, there you go, contact with Michael Brennan, so that is the reason for that drive-through. The problem with these gearboxes and just the sheer amount of compression and power in the engines in these Gen 3 supercars, if you're not rev matched and he revs up to like big dive, Scotty Stevens go again, make contact.
Oh, he puts his nose in there, Scotty.
Brennan.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if that'll be the Stevens and Stevens show again. Is that
Michael Brennan
as
just
Greg Patrick finally does go in
tonight?
Is that going to be? Well, I don't know.
Is that the third time? Is that the third time he's been spun tonight? That's rough. Poor bloke.
Yep.
So, look, it's very easy to actually lock up the rears because the motor needs to be spun up to that speed. And because it is such a big engine, it actually just refuses to, and it will effectively momentarily lock the rear tyres. It's
really?
just like jamming on the handbrake, in short.
Wow.
And so it really, really unsettles the car, even for just a moment. And when you're under full brakes, and you've already got a lot of weight transfer forward, the rear tyres are super, super light, and so they lock up super easily. And that's why you'll see sometimes these guys under full brakes, as they shift down, the car will just step sideways. It's scary as hell.
Now I realise why it's very, very difficult to drive. This is a racing sim, of course, on iRacing, and it looks like, oh, why don't you just go a little slower? Why don't you just brake a little bit earlier in the corner? And on the pictures up here in the broadcasting booth, but trust me, inside those racing sims, a lot of these drivers have invested a lot of time and money into. As you just mentioned there, Jared, it's not the easiest thing to do, and there's a lot of footwork and things like that goes on behind the scenes, as you'd mentioned. If you get a chance to look at some of these drivers on their Twitch feeds and on their social media and YouTube, you'll see how much that they have for their racing rigs, as we're seeing some exciting action at the moment. Chris in the lead from our Heat 1 winner of Martin in P2, if I get that one correctly.
Absolutely, but he's under threat at the moment. Scott Stevens on an absolute rampage. The last lap, Hallinan a 33.94, Stevens a 34.58. This time around, though, 34.4 from Hallinan. Scott Stevens goes 33.6, shaves almost a whole second off Hallinan. This is intense. Speaking of intense, I'm going to...
9 drops outside the top 10. Scotty's been everywhere, mate, once again, so far in this silver split. Scotty is just in the camera hog, Brennan. I'd say. You say ball hog? There's a camera hog from you, Scotty, because you're always in the highlight. You're getting highlight reels for this race, I can tell you that right now.
So Michael Brennan trying to charge back through the field. Speaking of extreme, just putting out an extreme weather warning right now in Brisbane.
Really?
Pretty sizable storm rolling over, particularly my place. So I'm going to apologise in advance if we suddenly lose the stream. You know why, and we'll try and pick it up
I'm in your neck of the woods too, mate, so if you hear lightning cracking all over the place, then I'm not too far away from you, mate. So yeah, up here in Queensland. Anybody else in Queensland? Keep an eye out.
There's a few Queenslanders around. Look at that gorgeous sunset. The way it really just brings these liveries to life. I'm so impressed with it. For such an old engine, iRacing just looks so bloody good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the
Scott Stevens, here we go, makes a move on Hallinan, charges on through. Go back and see if we can catch the moment that happened.
There it is. What a reaction time. Wow.
Big moment
that was milliseconds. That could have ended with both the cars in the kitty litter, but, well, they say... one person is the sharpest tool in the shed right now, and that's Mr. Stevens, because he got the job done, avoided an accident, P2.
Absolutely, and Michael Brennan, immediately behind, is hassling the other Stevens, looking for the pass down the main straight. He's got the pace out of that final corner. They're going to be side by side as we come down towards turn 1. Chris Pellat asking for a bit of piss testing. Perhaps for Scott's Camaro, simply for the pace that he had, and I can't disagree. Chris Pellat, Vicky Point, mate. I am a
watermelon moonshine in the back of that one. That is over the stage, but yeah,
I am a Redlands boy, born and bred, 20 years growing up there. Yeah, 20 years I spent in the Redlands. Beautiful part of the world. I do miss it, being a Westie these days. But anyhow, Ryan Palmer as well, looking to attack on the back of Jake Robillard. So these guys coming down. A big moment there. Can Palmer actually get it pulled up in time? No. Oh, that's... Look, you've got to take your chances in these. We had this conversation last night, Biggles. You've got to take some cheeky chances to actually make passes happen in these Gen 3s. Last night...
Yep. Oh, Ryan's going off and turned it. Like, is it going to... It's not a helping point straight, actually. Goes under the 420, mate. You might need a couple of pies and sausage rolls after that one. Yeah, but Ryan
bit of extra weight on board might have gave him the traction he needed. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Yep. As my... electricity just switches over from the solar into the batteries, which is fine. Actually, back onto the main grid now. There you go. There you go. It's all automated.
It's fine. It's fine.
All automated.
What can possibly go wrong? Scott Stevens, though, starting to open up that gap ahead of Hallinan. Yeah, well, there is that. There is that. It's fine. We've got this under control. Jake Robillard, another Queensland boy from Wooloowin. Good to hear, mate. There's plenty of us up here.
Queenslanders! Yep. Yeah, got 2 in the booth, mate. So, yep.
Another black flag for Dane Liccardo. Oh, he's having a horror run. He's up 18 spots right now in P10, but he's about to lose a bunch because he's going for that drive-through, and that's going to cost him. Watch him drop back through the field as he does that drive-through. So only 11th, 12th, not the night he was hoping for. Hallinan, though, refusing to let Scott Stevens get away. It's, he's got to
yeah,
push hard
I know, and that's good he needs to, because Scotty's been absolutely flying now. I'm just wondering if 4.9 seconds to change. And Chris was kind of like shouting out there saying, you know, he needs to be tested later on after this one. Will Scotty catch?
Scott Stevens, black flagged.
Chris? Whoa.
Scott Stevens, black flagged. That's for that contact earlier. So Scott Stevens will have to serve a drive-through.
Right now,
that's for all of the work that he's put in to find himself back to P2 here. He's going to have to serve a drive-through.
He needs another 10 more laps. He'll serve a drive-through and fight his way back up to the field, mate. But unfortunately, I think time's not going to be on his side there for Scotty. So, Scotty, you have a none next to your name as well, too, mate. So next week, if you have a none next to your name, we're not going to point the camera on you during a whole race. How's that? So get yourself a team name and go get served that drive-through. All right, that's a bit bawdy not putting a team name there. There you go, Scotty.
That's where it is, isn't it? Hey, further back in the field, battle for 23rd, so we're taking a look at a fair way back, but Chris Philippou and Martin Lipsky going at it here as they make their way back onto the home straight. And these guys have featured a little bit today. It's not the front of the pack battle, but there's plenty going on back here as well, as Lipsky looks for an opportunity to make a run into turn 1. I don't think he's quite going to get there, but how late is he on the brakes?
Yep.
Oh, a bit late to make a run there, but he's gotten a great moment out of the corner. Philippou's just not had the exit he wanted.
Yeah, run.
Can he make anything here through something loop?
Yep.
Contact.
Has to lift it. Has to lift.
Bit of contact. Very lucky not to cause any heartache for Philippou. And Lipsky's rightfully backed that off and going to have another crack at it. Meanwhile, here we go. Matt Bakir getting some attention from Luke Speck as we go through Southern Loop once again. Can Speck get the drive out of the corner here and make the pass happen? Now keep an eye on the bottom of your screen. Scott Stevens is going to have to serve that drive-through soon. He's only got a couple laps to do it. Big dive from Luke Speck. Can he pull it up in time? Locks the tyres briefly.
Make it stick. Wow, he's still got the power down. Amazing.
Great pass from Luke Speck. Absolutely fantastic move. You saw those tyres lock up ever so briefly as he dropped them down off the curb, but got it lined up enough and starts to pull away.
Stevens is in for his penalty.
Stevens in for that drive-through.
That's a drive-through for not giving us a team
name.
Next week it will be.
A reminder to all the drivers, of course,
for drivers that don't give team names next week. Anyway.
A reminder for all the drivers to make sure they do download the SDK driver app from the link pinned in the MCV8 Discord and get your details updated.
We can issue penalties up here in the comms box, mate. We'll be a fair but hard race control.
If I can't trust you with a soundboard, I don't know if I can trust you with a penalty issue, you know?
Ryan Palmer. We might have beef. All right.
Ryan Palmer has just made it past Scott Stevens as Stevens came out from serving that penalty. So Palmer's now got Stevens to contend with behind him. That's rough.
Oh, wow. And once again, the camera's back there. So Ryan Palmer and Scott Stevens, they've shared the camera together a few times doing the old waltz and dancing on the track here at Phillip Island. That severe weather warning. Yeah, expect to probably hear rain in the background on your microphone again soon there, Jared.
Oh, there's plenty belting down here, thankfully.
Are you belting it down? Oh, I know. It's about 5 minutes away from where you are, so I'll be expecting.
No, it is heavy right now, mate. And I'll give a massive shout out to NVIDIA for their noise cancelling AI software that they've got in the latest updates, because it does a fantastic job. Yeah, we can talk about that later, as we see Ryan Palmer just desperately trying to hold off Scott Stevens. Stevens just trying to decide whether to make the pass or just sit in at this point. Only another 4 laps to go as they make their way onto the last couple of turns. So not a lot in it yet. Hayden Cupid just having a few issues further back as well. He finds himself running off track a little, thankfully all on his own, so it hasn't cost him any positions yet. Keep an eye here on the battle for 7th. Scott Stevens looking to redeem the points that he's able to after, probably a pretty disappointing
If I was Palmer, mate, I would not allow any door to be opened anywhere around Scott Stevens, because he will climb his way through a window. He'll burgle you any day of the week in your track position. Of course, we're talking about here, the motor racing. So if I was Palmer, I would park that Caltex livery of the 16 machine as difficult as possible.
And have a look at that line. He's parked right in the middle of the track.
So Scotty will seize that opportunity any day of the week. And I tell you what, there's going to be a big task for Ryan Palmer to get the job done. But Ryan Palmer certainly is no slouch. And look at that picturesque moment here in the afternoon, Phillip Island.
It's a beautiful spot. Chris Pellett, absolutely. I love the controllability of these cars when you do start to get them sideways. The tyre model absolutely suits them. And from everything I've heard, the V8 drivers that have... or the Supercars drivers that have actually been in these Gen 3s say that they are not too far off feeling like the real deal. There it is. There's the dive from Scott Stevens.
Oh, no!
It's cost him. It's cost him. He's ended up on the gravel.
Short, put his nose in there and got it chopped off. Ryan Palmer stuck to his line there. I tell you what, Scotty, he certainly gives it a go, mate. He's like, it reminds me of a very young Ayrton Senna. So there you go. That's a big compliment to you there, Scotty. But, I think he will risk it for the biscuit.
He had to give it a crack, didn't he? He had to give it a crack.
And somehow still climbs his way back in the top 10. But give it to that entertainer of the race, for sure. Chris Pellett in the lead here from Martin and Michael. I just don't know what happened to Dane Liccardo, because down there in P14 now from 17 forward. And
that black flag
after this race was so long, and the biggest gainer during the heat race too. Just what happened?
Yeah, look, I think the black flag really hurt him on that one.
That's right, the black flag.
So that's
still the pit stops too. Oh, that's
here comes Luke Speck.
The pit stops as well.
Let's see what happens here with Matt Bakir, and he's got Dane right behind him as we speak about him now. Bakir's gone just a little bit wide through Southern Loop. That's opened the door for Speck. Can he make it work? Not quite enough of an overlap to force him wide here, so he's going to have to look at it. That's a very wide line to set up for Miller. And a defensive position from Bakir gives Speck the opportunity to take a slightly better line. Can he get the drive out of the corner and take this position? He can't. Beautiful defensive work from Bakir. That's enough to hold him off. Ryan Palmer, meanwhile, up the road will take a jump here. He's side by side with Dickerson.
Dickerson, yep.
Good into Lukey Heights, but he finds himself out very wide. That's a very tough spot.
Whoa. Keep it on track there, Ryan. Good job there. He's... Where's Stevens as well? Why is it showing on the... I'm not quite sure what it's showing on the... That's right. It's Steph Stevens. And that's right. Lick the stamp and send it. I'm going to call Scotty Lick the stamp and send it Stevens as well, too. That's your new nickname, by the way.
That's happening.
He's the postman. And he
held that slide from Pellett there.
That's Chris, isn't it? That's our race leader.
It is. So he's lost a bit of his
lucky
he's got his lead there. Helen has caught it right up.
Once a 5-second gap. It's down to about 1 and change now, mate. Look at that. This is an opportunity for Martin to steal this one away 3 laps to go.
That it is. Lukey Heights claims another victim. But thankfully, not too much. Hallinan, though, that'll reinvigorate his chase there. Dixon.
And Jake, here we go.
Pushing
this race
on
ain't
through.
over yet, mate, even though it may be bucketed down outside. It is clear skies, and I was going to say sunshine, but sunset here on Phillip Island for the Silver Split.
Now, Seth Stevens, really off the pace there. I wonder if he had a slowdown out of one of those corners, and that's why. But this is, again, that moment where they ended up side by side into Lukey. And you can see here, as Ryan Palmer gets outside, you'll see the camber change. As you go over that curb, it goes to off camber, and it gets very slippery with all the marbles. He's so lucky to have not gone completely sideways.
Very cool. Good catch.
Great.
Are you so focused on suspension? You're not doing that for a day job, are you? Out there and go, oh, look at your car go, oh, I can see your suspension.
Die from spec. Whoa. Contact. He spins.
Three-way.
Spins Bakir, gets hit by his teammate. So he's gonna redress this surely. Where's Bakir?
Bakir is...
There he goes.
Just going on the loud pedal right now. That will allow the place back, and I think that's fair play. So Matty will retake that P13 for the Alpine Pro Racing. Luke Speck there.
Big
did
moment.
the right thing. Good sportsmanship. Hats to tip. I tip the hat to you. I tip it.
And just to point it out again, Sideways Esports, and Sideways Esports. Rory Collins and Hayden Cupid right behind. These guys just
replay.
No, it's not. It's just these guys can't seem to do anything but drive together.
Oh, no, don't say Mr. Stevens is back in play here behind Ryan Palmer, and that's the other Stevens. That's Steph Stevens.
It's the other Stevens for now. Seth Stevens there.
Oh, you got a little twitchy coming out of the corner as well, too. Lucy Goody. Battle for P1. Martin is caught the back of Chris. Oh, Chris is slipping and sliding all over the place. A couple of laps to go. We have it here for the feature race in the Silver Split for the first time this season at MC Motorsports. It's the Gen 3s, it's V8, it's excitement, and of course, it's Phillip Island.
I wonder how much Pellet's tyres have picked up temperature from that massive slide he had just a few moments ago. That's got to be weighing on his mind because Hallinan seemed to have a lot more grip there going to Lukey. I don't know if that's just the line that he ended up on, but the pressure is on here. Just 2 more laps to go.
Yeah,
so we'll see the white flag next time around.
It is on, absolutely. Yeah, it's on the road and it's on the racetrack. And look at that. Martin has reeled it in. Chris is struggling big time right now. He may have the juice that makes it juicy, but Martin has a Twisted Key racing car that makes it fasty. And that's about the best I'm going to go on those puns this day.
Oh, mate, it is getting late in the afternoon. The sun is setting at Phillip Island, and I'm starting to worry about you sunsetting a little bit, mate, with puns like those. But here we go. Martin Hallinan closes to within 2/10. He's going to take a big look up the inside there. Nothing doing, but just filling the mirrors of Pellat to remind him of this big moment. Tries to put the power down, and that's going to cost him as they get through the high-speed run up to Lukey Heights. Look at that gap open up. Just that tiny moment of slip.
Isn't it, mate? As you mentioned,
it really is.
Yeah, to roll back in the past, as you were talking a little bit earlier, and if everybody missed that one, if you tuned in, go back, as Jared will explain about how easy it is under braking and all the footwork and everything that you have to get there, and how much power the rear end.
Back here, he's having another crack at it.
Just snap it, mate, and bingo. Look at further back, of course. Spec on the back there.
Going around the outside. A few issues in the background. He's found himself right out of the marbles. He's going to struggle to recover that.
He needs to, because he's got Gagler cars behind him, mate.
And then we jump forward to Palmer, right on the back of Dickerson. This is it. They're coming around onto the final lap now. So Chris Pellat has taken the white flag. Not giving up, but he's onto the final lap. And here comes Ryan Palmer. Let's see if he's got the run down the straight. As Dickerson starts to close in as well, and Robiart out front. But here comes Palmer up the inside. He's established that. A flame from the exhaust as he changes down. Looks absolutely stunning as we start to lose the daylight. But makes it through. Can he hold it through Southern Loop, and can he hold it to the end? We're going to keep an eye, though, up front because Chris Pellat and Martin Hallinan are absolutely at it right now.
Where can he get it done, mate? Where can they get it done? They just come out of Miller's Corner. Fifth, they're coming in Siberia now. Not a lot of overtaken opportunities. Maybe Luke, I'd say turn 10. You know, that'll be a set in turn 10 if Martin wants to take this race win away from Chris. But Chris is going to be well aware of that and make that number 186 as wide as possible. Forward 1 and forward 2, believe it or not, they have not blown up. They can take this one there. And
we're not done yet, mate. We're not done yet. Here we go, up and over Lukey Heights again for the last time here. Chris Pellat, what's he got? A mildly defensive line. Hallinan not close enough to capitalise. It's all about the drive here. And here we go, around a little bit of an extra tap of the brakes from Hallinan to make sure there's no contact, and that's going to be all Pellat needs to get the drive to the line.
Hallinan right now,
a bit of traffic.
And get the job done. Chris,
Hallinan right on the tail. But here he comes, Chris Pellat, across the line, very, very close in the end, but Hallinan, not even a tenth behind at the finish. Absolutely huge effort there. As we look ahead, Palmer's not going to have enough, but he has got past Dickerson in amongst all of that. So he's not going to have enough to get Robillard, but finishes in fifth. Robillard takes fourth. Brennan getting third in amongst all of that. And I'm glad Michael's not here to call it out that we missed him crossing the line again. Chris Pellat.
He's all right. We caught him at the end there, and GG's and congratulations, of course, to that one. But absolutely fantastic. Chris Chris is here to watch us. And for the Frog Leap Juice Racing Machine, he gets the 186 across the line from the 28 and the 189 there of Michael. Ryan Palmer ended up finishing in P5 after great battle. Jake Robilid, in their P4 position. And then the triple S's, mate, the quadruple S's were can't get away from Steph Stevens in P7 and Scott Stevens in P8, as you see on the results on the screen.
There it is. Huge efforts all around. And Chris Pellat taking P1 in a race win dedicated to his best mate, Ross Davenport. Rest in peace, mate. And absolutely. Condolences to you. I'm sure it's been a tough time, but what a way to honour your mate as you take a fantastic win there. Martin Hallinan, so close, but not quite there. Just a tenth, a smidgen under a tenth behind across the line. So a fantastic battle to finish it off. Michael Brennan taking third place, 13 seconds further back. So Chris and Martin really well out in front there. Jake Robillard taking fourth ahead of Ryan Palmer. Then Reese Dickerson. The two Stevens somehow managing to finish next to each other. Seth Stevens and Scott Stevens, just to mess with me. 7th and 8th. 7th and 8th for Stevens and Stevens. Say it 10 times fast, see how that goes. Aaron James in 9th and Greg Patrick rounding out 10th. Angus Brown and Dane Liciato in 11th and 12th. Matt Bakir recovering from that contact to take 13th ahead of Luke Speck. Then Rory Collins and Hayden Cupid ahead of Daniel Harrod, and Adrian Gresh in 18th when all is said and done. Further back in the field, Carmelo Coloridi and Jared Williams, the last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. With Ronald Long, Martin Lipsky, Darren Loughnan, Josh Marsh, Jesse Sterlo and Chris Philippou all just off the pace, one lap behind. Jamie Taylor, unfortunately, just all sorts of issues for him. Pat Trappett not starting this race. So picking up a 28th for being in the server. Biggles, what a fantastic,
I'll take that one into the week, Pat.
Fantastic evening.
Yeah, I still like my pick. Of course, you can see on your screen there, Dane. After the black flag there, I don't know. I still don't know what happened with Dane in that pit stop earlier because Dane was leading the race there. Jumped in a pit road 23 seconds and changed a long time because the rest of the field were doing about 18 stationary. So that's one to perhaps look at a little bit later. But hats off, of course, to Chris for getting the job done ahead of there of Martin and Michael. And I have to say, lick the stamp and send it to, the postman, Scott Stevens, was certainly the entertainer of the day.
Absolutely. And look, plenty more to come. Absolutely. As the drivers start to say their thanks and leave the chat, appreciate you all tuning in to check out the broadcast here for this silver split. An absolutely fantastic race all around, and a couple of us Queenslanders getting ready for this storm rolling away. I can tell you we've survived here, so that's something.
Yeah, we've beaten Melbourne Storm before a few times, so it shouldn't be too bad, right?
Yeah, how bad can it be? A fantastic drive from absolutely everyone in the silver split for round one here of the MCV8 series, and it really does just bode so well for the future of this series, this season. It's shaping up to be a real cracker, Biggles.
Absolutely, mate, and it's a pleasure sharing the booth with you here. The Simple Broadcasting Racing Network here for the MC Motorsport V8s. Oh, mate, what more can you ask for? And we got stacked at 50 plus drivers at least, gold and silver splits, and more to come.
Absolutely. We can only hope that we get the same number of drivers all the way to the end of the season because we've got some fantastic tracks ahead of us. But, of course, until next week, we're going to call it an evening here. That is all the racing that we have scheduled for this week here on Simple Racing Broadcast. But we'll be back again on Monday night, bringing the Gold Split to you live and exclusive for the MCV8 Series Round 2. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you do subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss a moment of the action. And then, of course, we will be broadcasting the Silver Split later in the week, next week once again. So plenty of time to hopefully catch yourselves on a broadcast somewhere soon. Until then, though, from Simple Racing Broadcast, the whole team here, on behalf of Dean Biggles Hopton, my name is Jared Cole. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, do make sure you look after each other, take care of yourselves, and we will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye for now.